students. Welcome back to another lecture. So now we've gone over the importance of finding good sources. We've then dove into some lectures with Calvin Craig and Whit Preston, and we understand now how to go to our library and find those sources. But then once you get to the point where you found the sources you want to work with, and now you're going, now what? How do I use these in my paper? Well, the first step is you are going to create what we call an annotated bibliography. And remember, an annotated bibliography is really nothing more than creating a works cited list, which is creating all the citations of the summaries that you're going to use, and then summarizing them. And some of you may be saying, well, that seems like a waste of time to write my paper. This doesn't make sense. But the reality is, for many of us, we forget what we read even 10 minutes ago. So creating an annotated bibliography, what that does is when you read those sources you're going to use and you summarize them and you talk a little bit about how you're going to use them, when you go to write your paper, you can then remember, oh yeah, this was the source that I was going to use for this idea. And this was a good source. I can use this here. So really and truly, it's part of the planning process. And then you've already created your works cited page, so it saves you a little bit of time in that essay as well. For most people, the word annotated bibliography sounds scary, but an annotated bibliography is a list of citations for various books, articles, and other sources on your particular topic. For you guys in this first essay, that topic is proving to me an influential leader or an impactful leader in your particular field. The annotated bibliography looks like a works cited page, but the difference is it includes an annotation after each source cited. That annotation is a short summary or a critical evaluation of that source. Annotated bibliographies can be part of a larger research project, or they can stand alone. For you guys, it is going to be part of a longer project. You're going to create this annotated bibliography, which will then lead to your first research essay. A summary annotation describes the source by answering the following questions. Who wrote the document? What does the document discuss? When and where was the document written? And why was the document produced? And how was that document provided to the public? The focus is a description. An evaluative annotation includes a summary as listed above, but it also critically assesses the work for accuracy, relevance, and quality. Evaluative annotations can help you learn about your topic, develop a thesis statement, and decide if that source is actually going to be useful for you. It also helps you determine if there's enough information to help you with your project. The focus is on description and evaluation. For you guys, really and truly, this is going to be a mix of both. And I want you to use the annotated bibliography to help you summarize it. But then perhaps there's going to be 1 to 2 sentences that's going to help you remember this source is going to help me in this way. Okay, we're going to watch a short video that's going to go a little bit more into depth about this.
So, just what the heck is an annotated bibliography? Let's break it down.
Bibliography is Greek for book writing, which is a very funny way of describing a list made up of books. Annotate is Latin for to add notes to, which isn't really funny at all. To put it back together, annotated bibliographies are lists of books with notes. Nowadays, bibliographies can contain things other than just books, such as articles, or anything else that contains information. Annotated bibliographies consist of 3 major parts: a citation, a summary, and an annotation. The citation occupies 1 or 2 lines and conforms to whatever style your teacher assigns. The summary should be no longer than 1 or 2 sentences and gives the reader an idea what your source is all about. The annotation is the rest, the meat of the assignment. This is where you give your source a big sloppy word kiss. You heard me. I said word kiss. You'll say why the source is great and how it ties into your final project. Nobody has ever enjoyed writing an annotated bibliography. Ever. They're tedious, detail-oriented, time-consuming, and less interesting than some other things. They also make you think really hard, which can be painful. If annotated bibliographies aren't any fun, then why do we need to write them? I'm glad I asked. For the same reason everybody else has ever had to write one. Because your teacher said so, and you want to get a good grade. Your teacher is making you do this because writing an annotated bibliography forces you to do your research early. It also encourages you to be selective, to think about each source you choose, and to help you complete your final project on time. As if all these reasons weren't enough, this assignment is also a sneaky way of getting you to learn about research. Sure, we could just tell you the things you'll learn while writing an annotated bibliography, but we think it's much better to learn by doing, instead of listening to some jerk drone on and on, like we are in this video.
So I hope that was helpful. Let me get us back to the main page here. So essentially, now that you kind of understand more about what an annotated bibliography is, now we need to then know, how do we begin to create citations? For your peer-reviewed articles that you find in the Gaston Library, there's a cite button that I showed you in the previous lecture. You can easily copy and paste those citations, and just make sure you double check the information to ensure accuracy. But North Carolina State University has also created a citation builder that you can help to use citations. You can also use Purdue OWL, which shows you a multitude of source types and how to cite those sources. And then your textbook is also a very valuable resource. I'm going to actually walk you through what this looks like from NC State University. I'm going to go to a previous article that I found about Geoffrey Canada, who I talked about in my previous lecture. And I'm going to walk you through. So let's say you find something like this, okay? You found a really good article. It's not peer reviewed, but you want to use it and it's impactful for your paper. So right here, the citation builder from NC State University, I've clicked on what do I want to cite? I want to cite a website, okay? And then I'm going to be using MLA, of course. And then it's asking me for the contributor. Who is the author? So when I go to this website, the author is not at the top like it typical is. And the photo was created by John Loomis. But as I scroll down, I can see that Lori Huff was indeed the writer. So I'm going to type in Lori Huff. And then it says the title or description of the page. And the title for this particular article, it's not going to be 100 Stories of Impact. That seems to be what the entire unit is, but breaking the cycle of poverty. Okay, that seems to be what our title is here. So we're gonna put that in. And then what I would maybe even suggest is, because this clearly has some kind of subtitle, 100 Stories of Impact, maybe even just for the sake of ensuring that the reader understands, you could even put it before there. So the publisher or the sponsor, Harvard Graduate School of Education, 100th Centennial. Let's scroll down here. We see here, HGSE publishing policies and disclaimers. So clearly this is the publisher right here, Harvard Graduate School of Education. So we're going to copy, and well, it's not going to let us copy that. So Harvard Graduate School of Education. We're going to put our URL in there so that they've got a direct link. And then the date it was published, let's see, it looks like 2020 is the date, but we want to look and make sure there's not been another date established. Usually it's here at the top, but I do not see that. So we're going to put the year 2020, okay? And then the date accessed for me, that would be today. Then we're going to ask it to build a citation, and look there, it's already got everything for you. So all you would have to do is copy and paste and put that into your Word document. So again, I've put that for you here in this PowerPoint. I'll also do it in your weekly lecture notes, but I just wanted to kind of walk through and show you what that would look like for you if you're outside of the Gaston Library. One thing that's really important is these citation builders are great tools, but you always need to double check your work. And I'm going to show you how to use your textbook to do just that. So ebook resources, if you have not already signed into your ebook, there is a YouTube link in this weekly folder that I want you to follow right before this lecture, and make sure that you do that so you have access to your ebook. So I'm going to walk you through how to go to these chapters in your ebook, and I have those listed specifically for you so that you can reference back to this particular PowerPoint. So chapter 11B in your ebook, and I'm going to go to that right now. And I apologize for the lag time here. So Everyday Writer is just a great resource for building citations, knowing how to create a works cited list. And when we get more in depth into in-text citations, how to use that research within your paper, you're going to find that it's really helpful there too. So right here in this toolbar, you have all these different topics here, but under 11B, it says creating a working annotated bibliography. So this is some really good information, what type of source you can use, and it shows you the information you need to collect. If you're using part of a book, a print article, and it even goes through to show you an example, and we're going to talk more about that. This is one entry for an annotated bibliography in MLA style. And again, we're going to talk more about that in this lecture. So then another thing that I want to draw your attention to, chapter 56 goes over how to create a works cited list. Remember, this is the list of sources you plan to use for your essay, and it's what creates your annotated bibliography. So let's go back to our book. Let's go to chapter 56 here, and it's under part 9 under MLA documentation. And right here, it says chapter 56, MLA style for a list of works cited. You're going to click on that. And guys, this is an incredible and valuable resource. We're going to go through this in a minute, how to format your works cited. But what it does, this gives you a guideline of what to do if there's one author, what to do if there's multiple authors. And then it goes a step further. It goes through every type of source, print books. It goes to show anthologies. And then if we scroll down, then it shows you print periodicals, what to do if you start going on the web. For example, if you start using articles in a print newspaper, if you start using print periodicals, print magazines, okay? Again, this goes back to using various sources such as what I've already shown you online, digital written word sources, work from a database. Guys, this is what you're going to be using from the Gaston College Library, okay? And it shows you what to find. It gives you an example, and then even a step further, it goes as far to show you exactly where to find this information. So for example, it shows you the authors and it has a 1 right here. It then goes and shows you exactly where to find that on the web page. This is just an invaluable resource. It has over, I don't even know the exact number. I want to say it's close to the 70s. Yeah, 69. It has 69 different sources and shows you step by step how to cite each one of those sources. You do not get better than this e-text. And again, this is in chapter 56. It is impossible for me to go through every single one of those. I am going to go through a few today, but the more important issue is that you know where to look, okay? Let's unpack the main sources that you will more than likely be using in your academic career. Okay, so how to format your works cited page. Start your list on a separate page. So you're going to create a Word document, okay? And this should not have crazy notes on it or bullet points, or this should be a clean page. You're going to center the heading and it's going to say works cited. It should not be italicized or in quotation marks. And it should be 1 inch from the top of the page. Again, there's an example in chapter 57 of your textbook. Each entry should be flush with the left margin, but each line after the first line should have an indentation. That should be a 1/2 inch. And the entire listing should be double spaced. List your sources alphabetically by the first word. Start with the author's name if that's available, or the editor's name. If there's no author or editor name given, then you're going to start with the title. List the author's last name first, followed by a comma, and then the first name. If a source has 2 authors, the second author's name appears first. The second author's name appears first name first. Capitalize every important word in titles and subtitles, and italicize titles of books and long works, but put the titles of shorter works in quotation marks. This is what a works cited page should appear as if you have followed this formatting principle. So again, you can see the title is right here. Each work is alphabetized based off of the very first word of the citation. You can see that the entire work is double spaced. And for each entry, you see right here, there's the first line that's completely left-hand aligned. And after that, this has been tabbed so that there's an indentation. So for a book entry, I'm going to go through a few examples. You're going to begin with the author's name, then include the title and the subtitle, the publisher, and the year of publication. So for this example, you have the author's name right here. You have the title of the book, which is in italics. You have the publisher, and then you have the year of publication. One thing you definitely need to check, and this is where your textbook is so vital to your success, make sure that you are following the punctuation marks that are supposed to go after each piece of information. That's different for every type of source entry. Next, an article from a database. You are more than likely going to be using this because you should be using your Gaston College library to create sources. For an article that is available in print, but that you have access to in an online database, such as an academic search Premier, begin with the name of the author, the title of the work, the title of the periodical, the volume and issue, the date of publication of the print version of the work, and then give page numbers for the print version. Then give the name of the online database and location, or the DOI or stable link. So for this example, here's the author's name. Here is the title of the article. Then you can see the journal, the volume number, the issue number, the date of publication, the page numbers. Then right here, you can see the online database that this came from. This could be JSTOR. There's multiple databases that might be used. And then this particular piece had a DOI. An article from a journal on the web, begin that entry for the online journal article just as you would for a print. in with the online location. So again, Calvin Craig went over an example like this. This is where those journals could be held in your hand, but what they've done is they've taken them online so that there's a better online access. So here's the author's name right here. Here's the title of the article. Here is the journal title, the volume, the issue number, the date of publication. And then for this particular one, this is a URL. A short article from a website, such as the one that I showed you a little bit ago when I used the NC State database, to cite a work on a website that's not part of a regularly published journal, magazine, or newspaper, include all the elements that are available: the author, the title of the work, the title of the website, the publisher or sponsor, the date of publication, or the latest update in the URL. If the site is undated, include the accessed and the date you visited the site. Okay, so for example, here is the author's name, the title. Right here, you can see that this is the title of the actual website, the URL, and then the date that this was accessed. This is one that doesn't have an author name, so it's simply the title of the work. It shows the title of the actual website, the date it was published, and the reason we know this is the publishing date is because it does not say accessed right here. And then we also have the URL. And then I know some of you will be using blogs. For an entire blog, give the author's name, the title of the blog, make sure it's italicized, the date, and the URL if the site is undated. In that with your access date. So for example, here is the author's name. Here's the title of her blog. This is the title of her blog. This is the date, and then here is the URL where it was accessed. To cite a blogger who writes under a pseudonym, begin with that, and then put the writer's real name if you know it. Then for an online video such as a YouTube, you can cite that online video just as you would a short work from that website. Here you can see the person's name, the title of where it came from. So this is a YouTube example, the date of publication, and then the link that you would find that on. And then finally, a short lecture or a speech. Some of you might be using TED Talks, so I wanted to include that in this particular lecture. For a lecture or a speech on the website, just as you would a short work from the website, and here you can see that I have it listed how you would cite a TED. Guys, the important thing to remember with this type of work, there are so many different sources. We live in a day and time of mass media. If you don't know how to cite something, go back to your textbook. Go back and see, this is the information I have. This is what type of source I have. How do I then create a citation? If you have any questions over that and you're just not finding what you need out of your ebook, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me and we can talk through how to create that citation. So after you've gathered all these sources, you've created these citations, the next piece for your annotated bibliography is creating that summary. So I've included an example from your textbook. What we can see here, this came from an online database, okay? We see that it came out of JSTOR. It's an author, it's the title. Here we have the title of the actual journal, the volume number, the issue number, the date, and the page numbers. And then we have the working URL. And what I want you to note, again, this was done really well in MLA format. We see this is left aligned, and then each line underneath is indented, okay? But then when we get down here, what we see here is the summary. So it starts here from this line, and there's a clear indentation showing that the summary is beginning. NYU sociology professor Arlene Davila explains that programs designed to stimulate tourism in Harlem have largely ignored Latino residents of East Harlem, also known as El Barrio. Rather than blaming leaders of Harlem's Black neighborhoods, which she suggests are as more marketable to tourists, she questions the anti-Latino bias of the economic policies of the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone. Davila calls for debates about problems that come with treating culture as a commodity. Although the article is older, Davila's argument is a valuable one. She provides a counterpoint to the idea that economic initiatives adopted since the 1990s have benefited all Harlemites. I can also use her analysis of culture as a product to set up my conclusion. Guys, this is a leader in economics and politics, okay? And what this particular example shows, again, this is a perfect example of an annotated bibliography entry. And you are supposed to have 5 of these. 3 of them should be peer reviewed. 2 of them do not have to be. But here we have the citation. Okay. This is what would be on a regular works cited page. And then what makes this an annotation is then we have this wonderful summary. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 sentences. That's a pretty solid summary. If you have any questions about this, or again, how to create an annotated bibliography, please don't hesitate, and I'll be glad to help you with that.